Hi, Debbie. Can you see me?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing okay. I'm so excited to be able to do this.
Yeah, this is great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Got everything all set up? Got your pattern on your canvas and everything?
Patterns on the canvas. My paints are out on my palette. I've got my paper towels all folded up, and I got my brushes here ready to go.
All right. Isn't that great?
I've been so excited. I've been wanting to do my palette or get my base on the canvas for days and days. I kept going, no, it'll dry out.
Yeah. Yeah, you can put your medium on now if you want.
I've got it on. I put it on.
Okay, good. All right. We're just waiting on everybody else. Just waiting for everybody else to join.
Now my canvas was bigger, so I've got tape on mine. I'm going to make it look like it's looking out a window.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So
I was going to tell. I was going to tell people that if they didn't have exactly that size canvas, they could always go to just a little bit larger and then tape it out or put some more background in, you know.
Yeah. Well, or what I was going to do until I thought about this was I was a newspaper woman for many, many years, and we had to enlarge pictures and stuff. I know all the percentages that you got to do.
Okay.
I was just going to enlarge it.
Yep, you can do that. That would be good too. So
I'm so excited about doing this picture. When I saw it on your website, I was so excited about it. I have a friend who literally raises monarch butterflies.
Oh.
And she has 200 a year that she releases. So I'm going to paint this for her.
Oh, that'll be nice. Yeah, she'll love it. She'll love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping everybody comes in and joins a little early so we can make sure everything is working, because that's usually the hardest part for people, is especially doing it the first time. But
yeah, well, that's why I came in a little earlier than usual, just to make sure my Zoom was working.
Yep.
I use Zoom all the time, but you just never know for sure.
Okay, yeah. Well, here comes Donald.
Hi, Donald. Oh, he's still connecting audio.
He's connecting, yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and mute so that I'm not.
Okay. Hi. Hi, Donald.
Hi, Ginny. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're in there.
All right, great.
Good. Got everything all set up? Got your pattern on your canvas? And
I do.
did you put some medium on there?
I'm going to here right now.
Okay. We're just waiting on the other participants, so.
How many do you have?
I think there's 10 or 11. One lady signed up, but she didn't pay for the class. So I don't know if she just didn't get that all accomplished or what, but I didn't send her a link until she pays. And then two other people signed up, but then ended up not being able to participate, but I'm going to send them a link of the recording afterwards. So, and everybody will get that, so that they can still do the class. So we may have like 8 actual people in class.
That's good.
Yeah.
Were
you able to get your pattern on your canvas okay and everything?
Yes.
Good.
Do you need to see that?
No, I just want to make sure you got everything you need. Some people are using larger canvases
I got a 16 by 20 here.
yeah, just you can just add more background or enlarge the pattern, whatever it works.
So the reason why I'm doing this is it's an interesting concept because I teach Bob Ross in the southeast Nebraska area, and of course all this coronavirus stuff is.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
And this is one avenue that I thought that I could pursue, but I just don't know how to do it.
How to do it? Yeah.
How to do it. Now, the first thing I thought was, well, just take a class from someone, and you popped up, so that's what I'm doing.
Good. Yeah. This is, I think, it's going to be good for us that teach. We got to teach people how to do it, and help them get started. And all that information that I sent you, that was the idea, was to, help people understand how to do it. And then once we have that down, then we're good to go, right? And then your students can be international.
Yeah, well,
I have people that are coming from all over the United States to do this. And I also have people that travel to Florida every year, and they say, well, we can't do your classes when we're in Florida. And I'm like, yes, you can now.
yeah.
Well, Mickey's getting ready to join us here.
I see you.
Hi, Mickey. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Are you like Dawn? You're just trying to figure out how to do this Zoom thing so you can teach it?
Well, yeah, but I've been using Zoom a little bit with a small group at church, and 2 different groups, because we're not allowed to get back together in person.
Right.
So we're doing it that way. So I've been on it a few times, but I really like this painting. Plus, I want to learn from you about how you do this.
Okay, well,
I
good.
thought, might as well knock out 2 favorite things, learn from Zoom and do this beautiful painting.
Well, good. Yeah, this is going to be fun, I think. This is going to be a good way for those of us that teach to teach, and also during this crazy time. The Hobby Lobby's opened up here, and then they let me teach a couple classes, and then they closed their classrooms again. So.
Is that right?
Yep.
They did, huh?
It's been crazy. Yeah, they opened them, and I taught a couple classes, and they went really well, and we social distanced, and we did all, that we were supposed to do. And then I got a call from 2 different managers that said that corporate had called them and said to close the classrooms, remove all advertisement of classes and everything. Because I was thinking, at least I could advertise there still and advertise my studio, and they nixed that too.
Yeah,
I know
same thing at my Hobby Lobby. They said no more classes will be held at that location until at least sometime next year.
Wow. Well, I think that it's a prerequisite to closing the classrooms down permanently for Hobby Lobby. The new Hobby Lobbies, they're not adding classrooms at all. So we've got to figure out a way of doing this without them. And I think Zoom is a good way. If you could set up your own studio, that's a good way, or finding another location like a church or, someplace like that. We've got to do that. But Zoom is really good, I think. I think it's going to be good.
The only issue with Zoom in my area is everybody wants me to provide everything for them. And they don't want to come to my house or meet me somewhere. And, you know, they just want me to lay out everything for them. They don't want to buy anything. I think
Well,
I've got 3 or 4 that have their own supplies.
Well, you could add to your Zoom class, if they register in time, you could actually put a little packet together and send it to them. You know, I had a couple of people, I actually have, when I advertise my packets, I actually have an option where they can get the canvas with the pattern on it. It's an extra $10 plus shipping, you know, so, and I've had several people do that. So that's, you know, that's an option for those that, now paint is the other thing. I won't supply paint. I mean, it's, you know, that would cost $40, $50 to supply them with a little tiny bit of paint. And I won't do that. But most places can get the paint, and I send in the material, I send links on where to order it online. So, you know, you're gonna have some that will do it and some that won't, but.
Yeah, a lot of them won't. They don't want to buy anything. They want me to provide everything for them, and that's fine. I can do that if they want to come over here, but they can't. I don't have a place here at my home to teach. So,
right.
But anyway, we'll work something out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We're waiting on a couple more people to join. I've got 8, I think, that are going to be active today. I've got a couple that paid for the class, but then ended up not being able to take it, but I'm going to send them the recording so that they can still take it. So that'll be good.
Am I the only one in here who's not a real painter, Jenny?
No, no, I've got some other people that are coming that are going to paint with us. And you're a real painter. You've taken classes with me before.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. My hydrangeas in the pot sitting here on my kitchen wall. I can see it from where I'm sitting in the living room.
Yeah. I am going to send everybody an invite. If you are a friend on Facebook, I can invite you to a private Facebook group where we can show our paintings and ask for feedback and like that. But you have to be a friend of mine on Facebook. So if you haven't friended me, I think you have to do that, and then I can invite you to that private Facebook group. You don't have to join. It's just an option. So that we can show our paintings and get feedback if you want it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, yeah. Loud and clear.
Yes.
And when I switch this to there, are you able to see my canvas okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's good.
Here comes Anne. Anne is joining us.
I have a little visitor here who won't be here through the class. This is Penny.
Hi, Penny. She's probably wondering what in the heck.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay, I got it, Lisa.
And here's everybody else up here across the top.
Bye, Lisa.
Hi, Anne.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Well, I was stressing out because I couldn't get this to work.
Oh.
This is
Well,
my first time doing this. Okay. Now,
Well, good.
Bobby, where do I pin her to make her the whole screen?
Oh, that scroll over that again, right there, that big, yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Okay, because, okay.
There you go. And then it puts everybody else over here on the side.
But I don't want them on the side because they will mess up my picture.
Hit there.
When we get started, I'm going to mute everybody, which will make me the one talking and the one in your center screen. And then when somebody else wants to talk or anything, they can raise their hand. And I will unmute after I do my demo so that we can talk to each other and ask questions. But when I do the demo, I will mute everybody so that it won't switch back and forth between, you know, somebody else and me all the time.
Okay.
Click it. You got to click it. There you go.
Okay, I got rid of that. Good. I got rid of that. So I'm good. Okay. I'm here and waiting.
Okay, we're gonna get started here in a little bit. We're waiting on a couple other people. We've got 3 more, I think, that are gonna join us.
Good.
You got your pattern on your canvas.
I do.
Right. Okay.
My
and
medium's on.
Your
my paint's
medium's on.
out.
Okay, you're ready to go then. Okay, we're
Yep.
just waiting on everybody else.
Do you have a young lady from Virginia joining Virginia Beach? My great niece.
I don't know what's the name. I don't know
Em-
where they're from. I know
Emmy
the,
Woodington. Emmy Woodington.
no, that doesn't
Oh.
sound familiar.
Okay, well, I tried to get her to do it. She's getting in to all of the above, so maybe she will on the next go round.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a couple of people who joined, but then ended up not being able to actually come to the class, but they're going to get the recording. I'll send the recording to them, so they'll still be able to do the class.
Gotcha. Okay. That's great. I'm so excited.
I think this is great. I think this is going to be a fun way to do this. I really do.
Well, I've missed our painting times, and Lisa and I do a lot of painting together, and we can't, and you know, we have to do what we have to do.
Yep, that's right.
So.
Well, I think this will work out, and I love being able to paint, you know, from the comfort of my own home without having to go anywhere or set anything up. And, you know, next month's painting is going to be the one behind my, let me see if you can see.
I love the little pig.
See the pig? Yeah, we're going to do the pig. So
I love that.
We'll do that one next month. And then after that, I think I'll do a scene, just a landscape. Someone asked for just a landscape, so we'll do that after that. I'm going to try to do at least 1 a month. I might even do 2 a month. It just depends on the response, you know, and how many people want to do it.
Well, I think once the word gets out, because, you know, I can't go do any classes. I'm distancing from everybody because of my situation. My mom is 95, almost 96 here.
Sure.
My husband is terminally brain cancer. So we don't go and visit, and this is perfect for me because, you know, I just don't feel comfortable in our group. You know, I mean, I wouldn't do it. It's just too risky at this point.
Yeah, I understand. I think everybody should just take care of themselves the way they need to take care, and that's all you do, you know, that's what you do.
Gotcha. Well, I'll be waiting.
Okay. Time is it? They're about 10 more minutes. We'll wait. Let everybody who's going to join.
What happens if we lose power?
What happens if we lose power?
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to do this.
Well,
what I've done on mine is I've got an iPad and I've plugged it into the electricity. What are you using for your to view this? A computer or?
This is my
laptop.
computer.
Okay, well then
Yeah.
you should be okay.
Yeah. Well, she's sending us a link so that we can go back and do what we get.
Oh,
If I have to run out when hospice comes in, I can catch it up later because she's going to send us a link.
okay.
So
Okay, I'll let you be.
he's being nosy.
We got you covered. Comes Lisa.
Jenny, your top is so pretty. That'd make a nice.
Pardon?
Your top is so pretty. That would make a nice.
Oh, that's, yeah. Well, Lisa came, and there she is. She's getting in here.
I guess I was bugging her, so.
So how do I pin just you, Jenny?
Once we get started, I will mute everybody, and the only one that you'll be able to see is me.
Okay.
But we're waiting on everybody to get here before I do that.
Okay. That's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I will unmute people in between. I'll demo, while I demo, I will mute everybody so that you don't switch back and forth if there's noise in the background or something. And then when I'm done with the demo part, I'll demo each section. When I'm done with the demo, I will unmute everybody in case you have questions. That way I think will be about the easiest way of doing it. And then I'll mute it again when I'm demoing.
Okay.
Picture, Lisa.
My camera is covered with tape.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't have to show us you. It's totally up to you.
Well, I covered my camera. But anyway,
Okay.
that's all right. I look pretty crappy anyway.
Oh. Hey, well, the nice thing about Zoom is you can wear a nice top and comb your hair and you're good, right?
I would have already been signed on, but Ann was bugging me.
it's my fault.
Oh. I see.
Jenny,
So now
I
we know.
retired.
Now we know who to blame.
I retired last week, Jenny. I'm never wearing a nice top ever again. Except to go to church.
Well, I find myself, I've been running around in jammies, but I've been actually getting dressed because if I run around in jammies too much, I find myself not thinking about working. I find myself thinking about sitting in front of the TV. So here lately, I've been making myself get up and put clothes on and act like I actually have a job because, you know, when you have a studio and have people coming in and out and painting, you know, I got to paint all the time. So it makes me feel more like I'm doing my job. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and the only place you can go in jamming is Walmart.
Yeah, and I do the Walmart drive up and they put the stuff in my car and I leave. So, you know, I very seldom go in to Walmart anymore. I never enjoyed it when it was okay to do it, and I still don't enjoy it that much. I just don't, I would rather them do the shopping for me.
I started using the pickup the day it started, and I haven't done pickup ever since.
Yeah, me too. That's me too. Let's see who we're waiting on. We've got Lisa, we've got Angela and Deanna, I think, are yet to come. Maybe Dorothy. Some people texted me that they couldn't attend the class and I was just going to send them the link afterwards. So we'll wait a couple more minutes. We got about 5 more minutes before the class actually starts. So we'll go that way. Did you guys get the email that I sent this morning? I sent another link to the actual class.
Yeah, that's the way I got on.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that I sent that in case it got lost in all that other info that I sent out.
I can't show myself because it says it can't link to my camera.
Oh, okay.
It's just fine.
That's fine. I mean, you know, as long as you can hear and see me, that's really the basics, right?
Yes.
What you can do to test that when you get a chance after class or before next class or something, if you want to show you, you can test that. You can go to Zoom and do a test connect or a test just a test. And then there is a way to check your camera and see if it's working, or, you know, see what you need to do.
Okay. I normally, if I'm Zooming, I'm on my iPad.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm
My
Zooming on,
laptop.
with the iPad.
Jenny, where'd you learn to do this Zoom thing? Just
Well, I
on your own?
started, yeah, I started hearing about it when all this COVID stuff happened. And so I'm like, oh, let's check that out, you know? And then, but I'm a web designer by trade. That's what I did for the past 30 years. So all this internet stuff is like second nature to me. So
Well, there it is right there.
yeah. Yeah, I've been doing everything online for years and years and years. So that's it's just easy to me. So this is like next step easy, you know.
Is it easy to set up a meeting?
Yeah, yeah. You go to zoom.us, I think it is.
Yeah.
Get an account, which you obviously have. If you want to do classes that are longer than 40 minutes, you have to do the paid version. It's $14.99 a month, and you can cancel it anytime. So it's not like you got a long-term contract or anything. And that will allow you to have more students and more time. Then you can set up however many hours you want for your class.
I see.
And so, you know, and it's the same as what you're doing here now, only you're the one who starts the meeting and you're in charge of the meeting. So, so it should be fairly easy for you to get that started. Then, of course, like I said, you have to teach people or explain to them how to get on. Once they do it, they find that it's so simple that it's silly to be afraid of it. But people are afraid of technology, and you know, the people that we teach usually are, you know, not the young ones who already know how to do all this stuff.
Right. I've already had about 3 or 4 of my regular students ask me, well, why don't you do a Zoom class? And I'm going, well, I got to learn how to do it first. And this is my first step. So,
well, Zoom, they have a lot of videos on their website that explain things too. So you can go.
I know, but you know, you got to experience it.
Oh, sure. No, this is great. And it's good to be able to paint with people, you know?
Yeah.
And I tell the people that are doing doing my classes that are teachers, if you want to use my pattern, you're welcome to do that, as long as you've taken the class and then you credit me for the, you know, for the design.
I understand that.
Yeah. So, okay, how we doing here with all these people? Well, one more minute. We'll give them one more minute. I hope they.
Sounds like one of my classes when you're waiting for someone to come in. Let's see, we'll give them 3 more minutes.
Yeah. Well, usually if it was my physical class, I would call them because they're local and they're out on the way or stuck in traffic or something. And the nice thing about this too is that you can record it and then you can send it. Anybody that missed the class, I will send the link to them so that they can take it at home. Stuff comes up, you know, or maybe your internet connection isn't working that day or whatever, you know. Okay, I'm going to start. It's 10 o'clock. I'm going to mute everybody. And then I'm going to turn the camera so that you can see. Everybody see that okay? I did a test, so I'm hoping that everything is working. Okay, let's get started. We've got our canvas, we've got our pattern on our canvas, and we've got a thin, even coat of a painting medium. As I said in my instructions, you can use, or in the instructions, you can use any kind of painting medium that you're used to using. I use Robert Warren's painting medium. I love his medium. You can use the Bob Ross liquid clear. That works as well. What I've got here, I'm going to start on the background, okay? Let's look at our colors for a minute. These are what you should have. Titanium white. I got a running one here. Anytime you get a paint that runs, you can always just sop up the excess. Got titanium white, cad yellow, yellow ochre, cad red. I've got phthalo red rose. I've got dioxazine purple, cobalt violet. I love these two. These three are the colors we'll use in our flowers, and they really make a difference, really make that painting pop. We've got ivory black, sap green, Prussian blue. Now, I've also went ahead and made the mixes that were in the instructions. This is sap green and black. This is sap green and yellow ochre. And then I took some white and kind of mixed some of that in there so that I have various shades of green. Then this is cad red and Prussian blue. This is a real dark purple that we can use in our shadows. So those are the mixes that I've done. Now you can mix these as we go, or you can mix them in advance. I'm going to start with a 3/4 inch flat brush. That's like this. Anything similar will do. You don't have to have the exact same brush that I do, but I just want a wide, soft brush. So now I've got that purple on there. That'll add interest. Okay, I'm going to start with that mid-tone green. That's sap green and yellow ochre. And I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to start in my background. And I'm just going to use very loose, little X strokes, very loose. I'm not going to try to get this solid back here. I want that texture in there. You can kind of look at your example. I'm going to go some light, some dark. Pick up some of the lights, some of the darks, and go right over those circle lines. We'll add those circles here in a minute. As I get down towards the bottom, I'm going to use more of the dark, and I might pick up on my brush, I might pick up a little bit of the 2 greens to make a little bit darker green, not as dark as this, but a little bit darker, because as I go down, I want this area to be just a little darker. I'm going to pull some of that dark in behind these petals. You'll notice I don't care about the lines too much. I'm really just getting some of that dark back in there. You can still see, I can still see my lines, so I'm not worried about it too much. Over here, same thing, gonna pull a little bit of that color back into those leaves. Down here at the bottom again, I want this to be nice and dark. Not the darkest color that I've got in those greens, but darker. And you'll notice I'm really just putting this on very quickly, leaving those brush strokes show. Don't be afraid to let the brush strokes show. Those brush strokes are what are going to give us the texture. And when we use our mop brush to blend this out, it's really going to give us a nice, soft, painterly is a good word, painterly background, right? Over here's a little lighter behind these petals. Again, pull that color down into your petals. Now for those, for these circles, I'm going to take, like for this one, I'm going to take that light green and I'm going to add a tiny, tiny touch. I'm going to touch the corner of that blue and I'm going to add a tiny touch of that blue, tiny bit. See, that's just kind of tinted my light green right there on the edge a little bit so that I can go up here and I can do this. I'm just going to let that brush do those edges for me. See that? I'm just sitting it down. I sit it down in the center and I just turn. If I want to make it a little touch lighter, I can do that. Add a little white to my brush. Turn. See how easy that was? And you thought that was going to be really hard, right? There's one right here. I want it to be a little bit bluer. Add just a little bit more of the blue. Maybe this one up here. If you sit your brush down, you can get that, let that edge of the brush do the hard work for you. I'm getting a touch more blue. This one to be a little bluer. There's one right behind the butterfly's head right in there. I'm not going to do the circle there because I don't want to get that in my butterfly too much, but I can do that partially, a little lighter. And I want this one to be light, so I'm going to add a little bit more black or white to my paint. The reason I want it to be light is because it's going to be behind the butterfly, and that will help that butterfly show up when we paint that. Right there, a little bit lighter. There's one up here that's a little darker. See that circle? Same circle. Maybe I want the edges of that to be a little bluer, so I can add another little swath right there. And that's the background. Basics, okay? I'm going to stop and turn the mute off, so if you have any questions. Now don't worry about, I think there's one right here too that I could put in. Right there, and maybe another one right there. You can add as many of these as you want. Don't worry about it looking weird right now, okay? We're not done. Well, here, let me just show you this and then I'll see if there's questions. I'm going to take my my mop and I'm going to go up here, and all those brush strokes that you see that are bothering you so much right now, I know they are. You can just soften this. Now, to use a mop brush properly, just the tip touches the canvas, just the tip, and very gently. If you end up with paint down the sides of your mop brush, you're using it as a brush and not as a mop, and you're pushing too hard. So fluff it up and just very gently. What this does, anytime you mop an area, it just softens the colors and it sends those colors back into the background. Soft colors will recede, sharp edges, sharp colors will come forward. So we want these colors to recede and get softer. See how that just kind of pushes those back? Be sure to do the edges of your little circles. Do those real good. We want those to just kind of softly show up, not be real hard edges. Okay, I'm going to unmute so everybody can let me know if they need any help. Okay, if you have any questions, you can unmute now. It's not letting me have an unmute all. It's just asking all to unmute. So if you have a question, you can unmute and ask.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Anybody that has a question, you can unmute and ask your questions. And I will give you a little time to get this section done before I go on. So I keep my classes usually running fairly fast. And the reason I do that is because I found a lot of times the longer I let you piddle with things, the muddier your painting gets. So I keep things moving pretty well during my classes. Maybe I'll add a little dark there. Are you guys able to hear me okay? Everything seem and see the painting okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Jenny, I'm sorry, what color is
What color for what?
it that we're supposed to do the green, yellow, the Prussian blue, or was it purple?
No, we've got sap green and black, and then sap green and yellow ochre, and then I've taken a little bit of that mix and added white to it. Those are our 3 shades of green. Okay, this one is cad red and Prussian blue. That gives me a real dark purple. Can you see that?
Okay, I thought we added some either a blue or a purple to the center mix.
Yes, I added a little Prussian blue to the green when I was doing those circles. Little Prussian blue. Yeah. Very little. Prussian blue is very strong, so very, very little you need to do that. Another thing, to make sure that you get up around your leaves or your petals in between. I'm looking to make sure I've got in between my petals. Your petals will grow. I mean, they'll get a little bit bigger, so it's not, you know, disaster if you don't have some of this behind them. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next part. Right down here in the bottom left corner, we've got these leaves that are with this dark green. So I'm gonna go ahead and using the same brush, I'm just gonna go ahead and put a little bit of that dark green on that stem. That's our darkest green. That stem goes right up into that area right in here below it's the pod that's connected. There's a little bit of that pod showing behind there. So go ahead and put a little bit of that in there. We'll add some other colors to this later. There's a little bit of a stem coming out there, and then there's this kind of bud right there. And I'm not trying to make this look like anything in particular right now. I'm just filling in that space. When we add some other colors to this, we'll give it a little bit more of a bud-like appearance. But for now, it's just get some of that dark in there. Little bit right behind there, right there. Then there's a leaf that comes out right here. Just really put that in using that brush. And there's some kind of little leaves coming up here, little short leaves. And this over here is just kind of messy. Being messy is very useful sometimes because you can create the look of things or the impression of things without a whole lot of work. I noticed that I missed getting some lighter green in behind there. I can add that if I want to. But for right now, I've just got a little bit of the green, dark green behind or in that bud area, and then a little bit of this on this bud. And then these are kind of drawing them out. I can take a little bit of the lighter green and add a little tiny touch right along the edge of that leaf right there. This is all in shadow, so it's really not going to get a whole lot of highlight. And again, I'm going to take my mop and I'm going to soften this stuff down here simply because I don't want it to be, I want it to be muted. I want it to be in the background. You can see how that just pushes that back. When we get to painting our flowers, our petals, we'll add some more, some purples and stuff to these down here so that they, you know, have a little bit more of the purple in them to the buds, but we don't need to do that right now. I've set it up so that I've muted everybody. Anytime that you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. I think with this class, we can do that. Excuse me. Let me know if I get to going too fast or if you need me to pause to wait on you. So Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this upper right and lower right, upper left petals. Now this one up here is very nebulous. I mean, it's not really even designed to be something that we see. All we're seeing is like the lower part of the petals that are sticking down. So I'm going to take a little bit of the cobalt violet and black. I want this to be very, very dark. And you can use various shades, different things. And I switched to my number 8 filbert brush. I love a filbert brush for this. You could use a flat, but I like the filbert brush because it allows me to do the petals, I think, a lot easier. I'm just going to fill in this top, and then when I start doing the petals, I just take this brush and just push on it down here, and then as I come to the tip, I pull up and just let that tip kind of fall out there. I want to start with the very darkest color. Excuse me. Cobalt violet and black to kind of give me those under petals that are very dark. And I'm just brush mixing this. That way, as it comes off my brush, it'll have different shades. Sometimes it'll be more purple, sometimes it'll be more black. I like to brush mix when doing this kind of stuff rather than trying to create a pile of paint. When you create a pile of paint, you end up with all the same color throughout the pile, which is very useful at times. But sometimes we want it to have a little bit of variation on our brush, and this is the way to do it. You brush mix it. So this is the underpainting for those little petals up here. By underpainting, I mean we've got our basic shapes in there, our basic darks. Then for a few of these petals, I can take a tiny bit of white over to my dioxazine or my cobalt violet. And I can make a little bit lighter shade. And I can just take a couple of these and highlight them. I don't want these to be real bright because this is background stuff. This is not the focal point. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. And in doing that, I kind of pull them forward just a little bit. Gives it a little bit more dimension. So we've got some under here that are darker than the ones on top. A couple on top are a little lighter. If you want to get a little fancy, you could take a little bit of your phthalo red, just very gently on a couple of them. Just gives a little bit more interest there. Now down here in the right bottom corner, it's basically the same thing with the petals, okay? We're going to start with that very dark purple right along the base of these flowers. Very dark. Right there. And then I'm going to take and pull those petals out. Don't worry about if it mixes in with the green that you've got down there. That's actually a good thing. There's a few little petals that kind of come up on the top there, but they're very short. They're foreshortened. I did a little lesson on foreshortening on my Facebook. Or not a lesson, an explanation of what that means. These are kind of farther away. They're not full sized. Main thing is to get these started is very dark. Put a little bit of those on this side too. These the bigger flowers going to come down over those. So if you put a little indication that there's some flowers back there. That will work. And then again, I'm going to take for the highlights, I'm just going to highlight a few of these, we can take a little bit of the dioxazine purple and highlight some of these add white to it. Or you can use the cobalt violet and add a little white to it. Just a little bit of highlight. Actually, that's probably too much right there, but we'll worry about it later. And even a little bit of that red, that phthalo red rose. Love that color. Once I get these in there, I'm going to go back and I'm going to darken that right along that edge again. Along the edge of the center of the flower. I'm going to darken that. That's the main thing, to get that in there. Then the center of the flower, we're going to start by taking a little bit of that. We made that cad red and Prussian blue mix. I'm going to start a little bit of that right along the edge. Now, look for a second how I hold my brush. I'm holding the brush turned this way so that I get those little points. I'm just using that to dab, leaving that texture, wiping my brush off, going back in with straight cad red, and just dotting little strokes, little textured strokes right along there. So it's kind of mixing a little bit with that dark. Then I'm going to take cad red and yellow, cad yellow, to get a lighter kind of a orangey-ish, more of an orangey color. Again, just little strokes. We'll do this a couple of times. And then I'm going to get just more cad yellow into my dirty brush. Gives me a dirty dirty cad red or yellow. And then I'm going to go straight cad yellow along that top edge. See, as we get those progression of colors, it gives us that roundness. I can go back with a little bit of the darker cobalt violet right along that bottom edge again to get me that dark. So we want to keep that darkness right down along the bottom of this edge here. By using the brush turned sideways, it gets me that little bit of texture that looks like those little, one of those stamen things in there. Now, to get the yellow to show up a little bit better, I'm going to add a little bit white to it. Yellow is a transparent color, so if it doesn't show up quite as bright as you think it should, adding a little white to it will help it be more opaque and will show it more. And I'm adding that right along that top edge. That's where the glow is. That's where the flower is getting the most light, right along the top edge. And that's that bottom flower, and you've now done a whole flower, which will make this one easier to do, right? I'll give you some time to get caught up. I'm assuming everybody's doing wonderfully if I don't hear from you, so. Joy has joined us, or rejoined us. Hi, I thought you were here earlier.
No.
Maybe that's a different Joy. We are in the middle of the class. We painted part of it. You will get the link to the class so that you can, get caught up. You can kind of see where we are right now.
You know, I never thought about it being on a different time zone.
Oh man, so sorry. Yeah, I did put Eastern Standard Time in there. don't worry, you will get the link so that you can get caught up, or do the parts that you don't have done.
Okay.
I still think you'll get quite a bit out of it, which will enable you to get your painting done. What I've been doing is I've been muting everybody while I do the demonstration, and then you can unmute if you have a question or anything like that. So I'm going to mute everybody, and like I said, you can unmute at any time to ask a question or whatever you need to do. Oh, there's another Joy. I have a Joy, and then I have a Joy H. So that's evidently why I thought Joy was here. She was, but she wasn't. Okay, so far we've done our background with different shades of green. Those greens were sap green and black, sap green and yellow ochre, and sap green, yellow ochre, and white. That gave us those 3 shades of green. And then we added the touch of blue in order to get some of these circles back in here, just a touch of blue around them, just to give them a different nuance. We also used our mop brush. Once we put those colors in there very loosely, we used our mop brush to gently soften the edges, get rid of brush strokes. We want the different shades of greens and stuff in there, but we don't necessarily want the harsh brush strokes. But we don't want to brush it so much that we blend all those colors together. Then we added some dark greens down here for our leaf sections, and we did some dark purples. We used cobalt blue and black, cobalt violet and black to get a real dark leaf, and then we added a little bit of white to our cobalt violet to get some petals that have a little bit of highlight on them. Nothing major up there. Same thing down here. We did the same thing down here with very dark along the base of the flower here. We pulled this out, and then we added a little bit of highlight to some of these, and even a little bit of the red phthalo red rose. Then to do this flower, the base of this flower, we started off with some very dark cobalt violet down in here. And I switched to a smaller brush. Everything else was done with a 3/4 inch flat, but when we got to the flowers, we started using a smaller brush. I've got a number 8 filbert brush. That way I can turn that brush on its side, and I can get that little petal shape a lot easier. So we started off down here with keeping that texture of the dark purple. Then we added some red, cad red into there. And then we made an orange with cad red and yellow. Cad red and yellow. We added some orange in there. And then we took yellow ochre, cad yellow and white, and did that top layer with a little bit brighter yellow. So that's kind of where we are right now. Okay, next step, let's work on this larger flower. I'm going to start off with that. The cobalt violet is the darkest of the purples. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of that. Might even add a little bit of black to it so that I could get this edge right along here, this edge. I always want that to be the darkest area. Okay, and then I can start pulling these petals out. Just pull them out a little bit along the bottom edge. We'll add we'll add other colors, but if I can get a little bit of the dark in there first, that's what I like to do. Some of these petals are underneath and some of them are on top. So we'll just give them all a little bit of the dark. Some of these I'm not going to go all the way to the end. Like right here, I know these petals start off dark, but they're going to get lighter. So I'm just going to pull a little bit of that color out from the center and let it kind of shade out, and then fade out is the word I was looking for, sorry. Like there's a petal that's right underneath here. Go ahead and put some dark in there. While I have this color, I'm going to go down here to my little buds that we put in dark green, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little indication of some petals on those very loosely, not trying to make those into anything specific, but if I add a little bit of that, it kind of gives the impression that those are little buds right in there. I can add a little bit to that bud that's behind there that is actually the base of that coneflower. And I can add a little bit to that stem that comes out of there as well. It kind of sets that stem apart a little bit. I won't lose all the green, just to add a little bit to it. There's a petal that comes over the top there, so not too worried about what this all looks like right in there. It's kind of establishing the bottom of some of these. This one down here is going to be dark. And that's basically the underpainting of the petals. Like I said, I'm just establishing some darks underneath of there. A little bit in here. I'm letting these petals go right into that, or right over top of, not quite touching the inside of this flower, but letting it get real close. That makes that one go behind. The next step of the petals is I'm going to take a little bit of the phthalo red rose and some of the dioxazine purple on my brush, and I'm going to use that as kind of like a mid-tone. Like this petal up here is a little lighter, so I didn't use the darker in there. Doesn't matter if you did. I mean, it's still all good. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. That's red, phthalo red rose, and the dioxazine purple. See how that makes a kind of a brighter, dark purple. That makes sense? A brighter, dark purple. And I'm going to go kind of pick out some of the petals, some of the edges, and give them a little taste of that. It's kind of like our mid-tone. I think I painted this painting many times, and I usually end up with different numbers of petals. It's okay if you do that. The important part is getting them in here and getting them shaded right so that they appear to come forward when they need to and recede when they need to. I'm going to add a little bit. This is the phthalo red rose and the dioxazine purple. There's a petal that kind of comes out there. Put that in there. There's a petal that is right there that kind of flips up. I'll just kind of put a little bit of that in there, and we'll fix that here in a minute. A little bit of this on these petals that are down here, but I want to keep the edges. I want to keep this petal, it's underneath, so I want to keep it darker. Darken that with the dioxazine purple. And then I can add this phthalo red rose to the one on top of that right there. In my example, I think I have more petals in here, so I can add a couple more of those if I want. But you can see that this gives us the beginning of shades, right? We've got dark, and we've got a mid-tone in there. Gives us separation. This is the idea of where we're going. I always go back and darken that center or that underneath area there. I might do that 3 or 4 times before it's all over. I'll pull that out a little bit. Then for the highlights, I'm going to start with phthalo red rose. Like this petal right here is going to get some straight phthalo red rose. This one too. Wipe your brush out so that you're getting mostly phthalo red rose. A little bit of that on edges. Now I'm thinking about the edges of petals. There's a petal right there that's coming over the top, and I'm going to put the phthalo red rose there, but it's still not very visible, and we'll fix that here in a minute. This petal comes out a little bit more. I'll leave these that are down under nice and dark. Key to painting is the lights and the darks. If you have light next to dark or dark next to light, you will begin to see the shape of things. As painters, we don't paint things, we paint the effect of light on things. So that's very important to understand that I'm not trying to paint a flower, I'm trying to paint the effect of the light on the flower. And that's where we get all these wonderful shapes, and we can see things going underneath and over top. It's all in the lights and the darks. And if your lights are not showing up light enough, it's usually because you don't have dark next to it. A lot of times we keep trying to add more white, more white, more white to get something to be lighter, when in actuality, all you need to do is look what's behind it, what's next to it, and darken that area. Very important thing. Once I started getting that, I started seeing a lot of improvement in my painting. Okay, now once I get that phthalo red rose on there, I'm going to start looking at my painting or my flowers, and I'm going to see where do I need to add that extra light. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of white into my phthalo red rose. And I'm just going to take a little bit of light right along there. So look at your example and see where you need to add light. Like this petal right here is supposed to come out towards us, right? Look at what happens when I add a little light to the edge of that petal. Right there, and then pull that back. Now we've got a petal that is flipped out towards us. If it doesn't quite look right, it may be because I don't have the dark established enough on the inside of the petal. Add that dark back in. Same thing with this petal right here. Maybe I need to add a little bit of light. A little bit of pink right on the edge. I don't want it to get too need to lighten it a little bit more on the edge. Pull it back. This petal right here needs light on the inside of the petal. And then right on the tip. A little bit of light on this one. So I'm thinking about the edges now. Where does the light need to go to make that petal stand out? I'm using phthalo red rose and white. Maybe a little light here. Now my white or my light colors usually get thicker. Not always, but 90% of the time they'll get a little thicker paint. Depends on how much light I want, I guess. The light on the outside of some of these petals a little bit. A little bit more on that one. A little bit on that other edge there too, just to kind of show that that's flipped up. add a little more pink on the inside there so that petal shows up a little bit better. Same with this one. A little bit on the edges here on these petals, just a little bit. And turns those petals into individuals. And then if you need to go back in and add a little dark behind there, you can. Touch on the edge right there. Got a little bright up here. Nice thing about painting this way with the medium on the canvas is that you can always go back and add color right into your canvas and blend it right on the canvas. That's one of the reasons I love this method of painting so much. Pulling some of those petals down into that center a little bit more, right there, kind of blending them in. Okay, how's everybody doing? I guess the weirdest part for me of doing this is I don't hear everybody complaining in the classroom. Slow down, you're going too slow. I don't know what you're doing. What color are you using? And the plus for you, I guess, is that you will get you'll get this as a recording later so that you can go back and double check what you've done. But again, I'm going to look at those darks right there in the dark, the center, pull those out a little bit into my other colors that I've added. Okay. That's the petals. Now, one of the things that I always do is when I finish my painting is I go back and I look at my lights and darks and see if I need to add more darks or more lights. And so, you know, if it's not looking quite the way you think it should, don't worry. You can always go back and adjust things. The other thing is that a lot of times you have to get back from the painting to really see it in 3 dimensions. When you're up close, you just see individual brush strokes. And when you get farther back, you see it as a complete painting. So that'll make a huge difference too. Now, we're gonna go and work on this cone, the inside of the cone. And I'm gonna start off with that dark red that we made. It's cad red and Prussian blue. It's kind of a very dark purple. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to turn my brush on the edge, and I'm just going to go up here and I'm just going to do little dashes right next to each other. All I'm looking for here is texture. Just getting those little cone, I don't know what those are. Are they called stamen? Seeds, some kind of seeds. They will be seeds eventually, I think. Then I'm going to pick up some Cad Red in that dirty brush. And I'm going to put a little bit of that right along the edge of those. Cad Red. And I'm using that up and down stroke like that because it leaves that texture. We want that texture in there. That's what's going to give us those, the look of that, those little stamens sticking up in there. I'm still using the same brush. I haven't cleaned it or anything. I'm picking up a little bit more red now, Cad Red. Going up here with that, just little dashes. And then as I go up to the next layer, I'm going to add a little bit of, use a little bit of yellow ochre into my Cad Red. Starts to give me a little bit lighter. Then I can take yellow ochre and Cad yellow. Into my yellow, or actually Cad Red and Cad yellow to get some orange. Let's get some orange in there. Little dashes. You can see I've got them kind of all in a row right now, and I will mess that up here in a minute. You don't want them to be all in rows like this. And Cad yellow and yellow ochre will be another step in our little cone. And then Cad yellow on the outside with a dirty brush. It's not going to be real bright yet. We're just getting that basic shape in there. Then I'm going to go back in with some Cad Red. I'm kind of looking at my example and also at the shape that I've created here. Is it the shape that I wanted? I want it to be a cone. Kind of flares out a little bit there, and it kind of has a rounded top. So if I'm not getting that, maybe I've got, if you ever need to go back in and adjust the colors or adjust the shape of something, go in with the color that's behind it and you can adjust it. Oh, that's too bright, so I'll go and lighten that a little bit. I think that shape was a little too tall right there. I can go in with the color behind it and just kind of blend it away. Okay. A little more yellow right at the top here. Right here around the butterfly's feet, right there should be your brightest area. And if I need to add a little white to my Cad yellow, again, to get it to brighten and to show up a little bit more, that's the way to get that to be not as transparent. Straight yellow ochre in there, maybe here and there. I want this texture to remain, but I don't want it to be all lined up in a row. So I just go back in with some of the straight color. and kind of mess that row looking stuff up. Then I can always go back and darken right along the base. With that dark purple, just to make sure that I keep that base right in here nice and dark. Really helps us get that 3 dimensions in there if we do that. Wow, you guys are doing really good keeping up with me. I haven't heard any complaints or anything, but you know, I'll give you a few minutes to get caught up before we start on our butterfly. This is not going to take as long as I had anticipated, so that's good. That's always a good indication that you guys are keeping up with me and doing well, so it's good. Deanna joined us. And Deanna, I have everybody muted. If you have questions, you can unmute and ask questions. I know you're a little behind, but you will get the complete video. So you can just kind of follow along, I guess, with the remainder of the painting. They are doing so well that keeping up with me that we're down to doing the butterfly. And I will go over some last steps once we get the butterfly done. So welcome. I know you had a meeting this morning, so that's why you're late. Not a problem. I'm just kind of dinking around with mine right now while I'm giving you guys some time to get caught up. So when I dink, all I do is I look for places to darken my darks. I think I found that most people are afraid to get their darks dark enough. And that's why a lot of people's paintings end up looking a little bit on the washed out side, and they can't understand why they can't get their brights bright enough. It's not because their brights aren't bright enough, it's because the darks next to them aren't dark enough. Okay, how you doing? I'm gonna start on the butterfly. With the butterfly, it's basically just your reds and your oranges for the insides. I like to start off on the inside, and then as I do the black on the outside, I can kind of clean up those inside areas. So I like to start with adding a little bit of cad red and maybe some of that phthalo red rose, and just pull it right from the bottom of my little strokes here. Pull it out. Don't fill the stroke all the way. Just pull this out from the inside, or from the inside edge there, and pull it out into the butterfly wing. So start right there, pull a little bit of that out. Still using that number 8 filbert for this. These other little strokes up here, I'm just going to tip a little bit of red into those. But you can see, your strokes will get a little bigger, and you can use the black then to kind of tone those down as needed. And I'm just really just pulling that color out and kind of letting it fade away. Not trying to fill it completely. Then I'll pick up some of my cad red and yellow ochre and get that orange color. And I can take that color and start back in the back, and I can pull that down into, see how when I kind of blend those two together, I can pull that down into the red and it just kind of blends it together. Right there, pull it back. If I find that I'm getting too much red, go back, clean your brush off, and go back and get your orange. So it kind of blends those two together and gives me that nice blended look.
And that's what colors?
The orange is cad red and yellow, cad yellow. The red was the phthalo red rose and cad red. Probably more cad red than anything. But that phthalo red rose just darkens it just a little bit. See, this is blending right back into that. See, and as I blend it back, it kind of picks up a little bit of that red, and I carry that forward. But if I get too much, I wipe my brush off. So I don't want to get it too much. I want to leave both the dark and the lights in there. That just gives me that that blend right in the center, kind of a fiery look, which I like. Forgot these guys are here. Huh. Now, if you get your orange and your red too mixed up and it comes out one color, you can go back with some straight yellow and white. And you can start on that end and just pull a little bit of that in there. And just do it quickly so that it doesn't blend too much. See how you can get a little brighter yellow if you want? And just add a little bit of that in there. Kind of brightens up especially the ones out here on the edges. And I'll do the black next, and then I'll add those little white dots in the butterfly. And at the same time as I do the black, I'll do the body. Before I pick up black, I'm going to take a little bit of green because I noticed that I don't have enough green right underneath of his body right here. I don't want to have to go back there after I get my black on and paint around that body. So if you need to touch up your body or around your body, now's the time to do it.
Okay, well, if you give us a couple minutes to catch up before we
Will
start
do.
with the color.
Will do. Will do. I know I've done this painting several times, so it's easy for me to just do it, you know? So. I'm gonna lighten that little underneath here a little bit. Now the other thing that will happen as we add our black is that we'll get a little bit mixed up in these reds, and it will darken some of the reds down here. And that's okay, you know, that's perfectly fine. So don't worry about this being a little messy around the edges or anything, because the black will help us blend this all together and even add another dimension to it. So what I am looking at is I want to make sure that around the edges of my butterfly that I don't have any white lines showing, you know, from the green in the back. So I'm gonna make sure that I have the paint covered right up next to and over top even of the pattern. Nothing worse than getting your butterfly done and have to go right up next to that black to kind of make it fill in and get it in your green then. So take this time to make sure you've got your pattern covered, or your background covered right up next to your butterfly, so that you don't have to go back. It's a lot easier to take black and cover up that green that's encroaching on your butterfly than the other way around. Again, you can soften, if you do that and you need to, you can soften your background with your mop brush, your mop brush. Sometimes I can't think and talk and paint at the same time. So I have to do one thing at a time. Okay. How you doing? Anybody need more time? Raise your hand. All right, now basically what I do is I just take the same brush. Now we'll use a liner brush when we get into doing the details and the body and everything. But for right now, I'm just going to take this black. I'm going to start with the body. Just pull that back in there. We'll add a touch of blue on the top of him, you know, here in a little bit to get a little bit of a highlight there. But for the most part, you're just filling in. Trying to get your edges clean. If you need to put your pinky down to steady your hand, you can do that. You can use a maul stick. A maul stick is just a stick that you lay across the painting and that allows you to put your hand down. I also use like a long-handled brush that lets me do that if I need to. I'll lay my hand down to get a cleaner edge. These are all tools that you can use if you're you know, your hand is not steady enough. Some people are, some aren't. And there are tools that can help you, so don't be afraid to use those. In my classroom, I made maul sticks out of, let me show you. I took a dowel rod like this, and I made a maul stick out of it. It's just long enough to go, you know, to sit over the top of my canvas. I can hang it off the top of my canvas. I can set my hand down. And I made these very inexpensively. These are great little tools if you're teaching a class.
What's that you have screwed on top of it?
It's a button. It's actually a button.
Okay.
I just went to Hobby Lobby and grabbed some buttons and I put a little screw right into it. And then on the other end, this is a door stop. If you get the right size dowel stick, there's door stops that will just fit right on there. So very inexpensive. I think I made 10 or 12 of these for like 12 bucks. And if you buy maul sticks, they're like $12 each and up. But my students have really, really appreciated having those at times. It takes them a little bit to get used to them, but once they get used to using it, they're like, did you bring maul sticks? So good tool to have, especially when you're doing the, you know, the detailed work.
Jeannie, sometimes I use a curtain rod.
Curtain rods work great. Yep.
I can use this, and I can buy this for 99 cents, and I have 2 mall sticks.
Yeah, yeah, curtain rods work great. Yeah, you can get inventive with these, but they sure do help, especially when you have people that's hands are not real sturdy. Or they're having issues with their hands. Not sturdy, steady.
Where do you live, Jenny?
I live in Indiana, Newcastle, Indiana. I'm getting ready to teach a class in Kentucky. Actually, I have 2 classes in 2 different cities in Kentucky this year. And then of course, I teach I'm going to be teaching at the Las Vegas event again, if they get their hotel situation straightened out. I sure hope they don't have to still do social distancing and all that stuff in February and March of next year. But I don't know. And I'm not really going to pay attention to the patterns for those little dots and stuff because I can add those later. I'm just going to go ahead and paint around all that. Or over the top of it, I guess.
I was supposed to go paint with Robert in Pennsylvania at the end of this month.
Are they still having it?
Yeah, so far, but I'm not going.
Aren't you?
I'm not going to travel.
Yeah, it's kind of iffy. I would love to go, but that's a little far, and I live about 2 hours from him, so I might go if he has any of his local classes, but he hasn't done that yet anyway. He's not going to Vegas next year. Did you guys know that?
I did not know that.
Yep, he opted not to go. I think his wife is wanting him to stay home more, and not travel as much. And he said, he was talking to me, and he said that he really doesn't make that much money by the time he does all the traveling and all that. I can't hardly believe that because his classes fill up, But it's not that he doesn't make much money. He says it's that he can make as much money by staying at home and doing commissions. Now that I do believe, because I bet he gets some good commissions. Now, if I end up covering up some of my reds and, I didn't mean to, I can always go back and add them. It's not a problem. Like if I lose some of the darks or whatever. And this is where, when you do that, you can kind of pull some of that dark back into your, in these areas, and it kind of adds another little dimension. And that's a little red right there. And I will use phthalo blue and white to get a tiny touch of phthalo blue because it's so strong. And I will add a little bit of a highlight right along the top of my head of my ant right there. And kind of pull that back. I can add a little highlight right along the edge of this section of the wing. That kind of helps separate that from that back section. Maybe a little bit right along this section of this wing. Now, if you can do this, softening the edge of that back wing kind of gives it a little bit more of a dimension. And to do that, all you do is you take your brush, you wipe it off, get no paint on it, and then just kind of straddle the two edges of the background and the edge, and you just soften that edge. Just got to be brave when you do it. And if you mess up and you need to clean up some black, just get the color that's behind it and do that. These front edges can be darker because those are, we want those to stand out a little bit more. So I want those edges to be a little darker. Soft edges recede, hard edges come forward. That's the rule. Then I'm going to take, for those little dots, I'm going to take my, I can take my liner brush, find it. No. A round brush, look, this little round brush I can use. And I'm going to get titanium white, and with a touch of yellow in it. I want it to be not straight white. And I can go up there and do, just little touches to get those dots that a monarch is known for. Wipe your brush off in between load. When you load your brush, wipe it off and get clean paint. Otherwise, you'll end up with, it won't be clean. You'll pick up that black. Now the key to getting really nice fine lines with your liner brush, which, hold on, I gotta get one. The first thing is to have a good liner brush. It doesn't have any hairs going wonky on it. And the second thing is to dip your brush in medium. Okay, then take it over to your paint. In this case, it's going to be black, and get it to the consistency of ink. And that's a lot thinner than a lot of people think it is, because if your paint doesn't come off your brush very easily, then you don't have enough medium. All right, so it has to be inky consistency. The other thing is make sure that you only use the tip of the brush. The harder you push, the thicker your line is going to be. So if I want to go up here and add a little line, I'm just going to use just the tip of the brush right there. Okay, maybe there's a little guy coming out here and going down. Tip of the brush, no pressure. And if you mess up, don't freak out. You can always go back and paint out with the background color behind. You can use a wipeout tool to wipe out, you know, the area. Go back and repaint it. But the key really is to get very thin paint and then just barely touch the canvas to get that thin line. We want these to be very thin. Cool beans? only thing I'm doing now is I'm going back and I'm looking at my darks and my lights. And I'm reinforcing my darks. Just restating them, making sure that they're dark enough. Adding, looking at my lights, are they light enough? The focal point of this painting would be right here along the top of this petal, right where the butterfly is touching down, right? So I'm going to take a little bit more white with yellow in it and just really punch up that area. Careful not to get it on into my black. Just punch that area up a little bit. These head, or my butterfly's head needed a little bit more shape right there. I think there's another petal that's kind of missing right there. I think that would help have that petal in there. And I really recommend at this stage that you get back and look at your painting and really look and see where that you need to add those lights and darks. Sometimes you just have to live with it for a little while to really see what needs to be added. Going back and highlighting some of the tips of these petals, because that's what makes these come forward, is that light. Adding a little bit more light. And the light is, is coming, it's coming from this direction, but these petals, because they're flipped up, that's why they're getting light right there, because they're flipped up.
No one painting.
How y'all doing? Now, if you want to join the private Facebook group that I have where you can show your paintings and ask for feedback and help, just make sure you friended me on Facebook first, and then I can ask you to join. It won't let me ask someone to join if they're not already a friend. But the only thing we're going to use that for is really just to show our paintings and to each other and ask for feedback and help. So you're open to join that if you want. I will be sending you a recording of this so that you can go back and watch it in retouch areas that you want to work on. So tell me what you guys thought of this whole process. Did you enjoy it?
I think it's great.
Yeah, you enjoyed it?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could everything good? And
Oh, yeah.
I know a couple of you are more advanced painters, so you were able to keep up with me. Debbie, were you able to keep up? Was I going slow enough for you, or?
It's just like it when in your classes, I'm not able to keep up, but when you take breaks, then I can catch up.
Okay,
But
okay.
it's
So,
perfect. It's fine.
so the way I did it was good. Okay. Any other
I felt like
feedback?
I was in your classroom.
Yeah, it's really the
Yeah,
same.
no,
Isn't
it was
it?
great.
I talk constantly. I do it exactly the same as I do it in a class. So it's really strange on my part because I've muted everybody. I can't hear everybody in the background, but that's not a bad thing. And I'm just trusting that if you have questions or you need me to slow down or speed up, you'll let me know. So.
Jenny, if I was going to do this in Southeast Nebraska with my students, what would you suggest I really learn? I mean, what do I need? I suspect some sort of payment method.
Yes. What I do is now, if you have an email list, you can email them, or if you're going to do it, do you have a website?
Yeah, I've got a blog site.
Okay, you can advertise on there. Then they will have to give you their email address, and you can send them a PayPal or whatever method you're using to pay.
Well, that's my problem. My classes
Okay.
have always been cash or check, and that's not gonna work on this. So
right. You're going to need PayPal. I suggest PayPal. I use PayPal. PayPal is a very safe environment. You can go get an account at PayPal, and when you send people a link to pay, all you need is their PayPal address, then, or their email address. Then you send them a request for money through PayPal. They pay it, and it shows up in your PayPal account. Then you can link your bank account to that and transfer that money directly to your checking or savings or wherever you're putting it. Or you can even get a debit card and just draw it out at an ATM. I mean, it's up to you. But go to PayPal and learn how to do that. Other people use, there's another one that other people use. I've always used PayPal. I really like it. But just
PayPal
go.
is the paper for both the payer and the payee.
Yes, yes. The payee does not have to have an account. They can use their debit or credit card, okay, without having a PayPal account. So you're the only one who needs the account because you need to put that money somewhere. So you put it in your PayPal account, and then like I say, you can transfer it to your bank, or you can get their debit card and draw it from an ATM for cash. I mean, that's totally up to you. I just transfer it right to my account, my bank account, and it comes within like a day. I mean, it's not a long drawn out process.
So PayPal then is I noticed on your website when you sign up, PayPal then is the one that's asking for the credit card number.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if
You
someone
don't
does
have
not-
anything to do with that, right?
Right, right. I don't keep your information. Now, I have students that call me and want to give me their number over the phone because they don't want to use PayPal. Perfectly fine with me. I put their information in a vault where nobody can get to it, you know, and they trust me to do that. But for it's really better for both of you if they use the PayPal, because then you don't have their information. PayPal is the one who's, it's like them going to the bank,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you know, and it's safe and secure, as
Yep.
secure as anything online, because banks use online. I mean, you know, people tell me, oh, I don't want to put my information online. Well, your bank is already doing that for you. So, you know, it's as safe as your bank, because it is a bank. It's a bank.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, they don't have to have a PayPal account. They just can use their debit or credit card.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Anybody else want to show me their painting? I can see Dawn's. I can see yours kind of from here.
Oh, here, I'll get this up.
All right. Yeah. You had your canvas was a little larger. Now you could take that back flower at the top. You could actually, you know, add a little bit more to that, or add a stem or something, or add leaves around it or something to kind of make it fit the canvas a little better. Oh, look at you, Mickey. That's so pretty. Good job. You guys did really well. Let me see, Debbie. How'd you do? Gotta turn it the other way. All right. All right. Good.
It's a little dark. I'll go put some light in it later.
Yeah, or just some brighter colors. Yeah, no, your butterfly looks pretty. Well, good job, you guys. Hey, thank you so much for being part of my very first Zoom class. And I hope you come back and.
We're honored.
Well, I hope you come back and join me again. The next one we're doing is that over the fence with the little pig hanging out over the fence. And check that out. That's in August. And just keep checking my website and my Facebook page, and I'll tell you what's coming up if you want to join me again. Thank you so much. I'm going to sign off. Everybody, anybody else need anything?
This was
Thank you
really
very
good,
much. I
Gini.
enjoyed.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank
this
you.
turned
And I'll-
out really good. You did a really good job, and I'm very encouraged by using this method for some of my classes.
Well,
But
good.
since you had so much more experience, I wanted to see how you did it.
Well, good. I hope it works out for you. I think it's a really good platform. I really do. It's something that we can do to help with keeping our business going. So,
Stay
All
safe,
right.
everybody. Yep.
you too.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Jeannie.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.